Amara didn't expect the evening breeze to feel so alive on her skin. The rooftop gala shimmered under a canopy of stars, laughter tinkled like fine glass, and the city's heartbeat pulsed in distant lights below. She wore red tonight not for the symbolism, not for danger, but because she liked how it made her feel, seen, certain, unapologetically herself. And then, he walked in. He wasn't the kind of man you noticed. He was the kind of man you felt, a presence, not a silhouette. His suit fit him too well for coincidence. His hair was the kind of careless that took effort. But it was the way he looked at her like she was a secret only he was meant to know that sent the tremor down her spine. Their eyes locked. She didn't smile. Neither did he. And yet, something passed between them like smoke catching fire. He moved toward her slowly, deliberately, not parting the crowd, but shifting the air itself. She sipped her drink, pretending not to be shaken, but her lips curved without her permission. "You don't belong here," he said, voice like silk over heat. She tilted her head, amused. "Neither do you. I don't pretend otherwise, and I don't apologize for it." Good. One word, but it hung between them like a promise. They stood together, saying nothing more. The music played, people danced, but they remained still, two people whose bodies spoke more than their mouths could ever manage. "I shouldn't like you," she whispered, not quite to him, not quite to herself. "But you do," he answered. She met his gaze, steady, electric, unreadable. Then he leaned in, so close she could feel his breath skim her neck. "I should be leaving," she said. "You should," he agreed. "But you won't." Her chest rose with breath she didn't realize she held. "Tell me your name." "No." Her brow arched. "Why?" "Because if I tell you, we'll never stop." His fingers brushed the inside of her wrist just barely. She felt it in her spine. "I should hate you," she said, almost laughing at how strange the moment was. "But your lips say otherwise?" She didn't nod. She didn't need to. And then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't wild. It was certain, like it had already happened 1,000 times before, like the space between them had only been waiting for the excuse to vanish. Her hand found his chest, firm and warm, and his fingers curved along the edge of her jaw, as if sculpting something sacred. They broke apart, but their foreheads remained close. "Still leaving?" he whispered. She smiled. "I haven't even arrived yet." The city blinked around them, but in her world, only he remained, an unnamed man, an unexplained flame, and the kiss that felt like the beginning of something she didn't dare name. Yet, the night hadn't ended. Not really. It had only twisted itself into something darker, slower, and more intimate. Amara found herself beside him in the hotel elevator, her heels silent on the velvet floor, his shoulder close enough to steal her balance. Neither spoke. They didn't need to. The silence wrapped around them like a warm, unseen thread, pulling tighter with each passing second. She pressed the button for her floor. He didn't ask which one it was. His presence made her aware of every inch of herself. The way her dress clung to the curve of her waist. The way her pulse throbbed at her throat. The way his eyes, dark, unreadable, slid over her skin without shame, without apology. The numbers above flickered slowly. "Tell me your name now," she said. He smiled, just a flicker at the corner of his lips. "Still no." She turned to face him fully, her hand bracing the mirrored wall. "You like control, and you like challenge. Are we playing?" "We're already deep in the game." Her breath hitched, not from nerves, but anticipation. His fingers reached out and slowly tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. She didn't move. She let him. Then the elevator jolted to a stop. Her floor. She hesitated. He said nothing, just looked at her. Heat, calm, and invitation all wrapped into one steady gaze. Amara stepped out, but before the doors closed, she turned, held them open with one hand, and said, "Room 9-4. He stepped in beside her without a word. No expectations, no declarations, just that electricity between them, silent, bold, inevitable. Inside the room, she didn't offer him wine, didn't light candles. The night didn't ask for theatrics. It asked for honesty, the kind you speak with your body when words aren't enough. She stood by the window, the moonlight painting her shoulders in silver. He came up behind her, but didn't touch, only let his voice reach her softly. "I've thought about kissing you again since the first one ended." "So have I," she admitted, not turning. His hands finally rested at her waist, fingertips grazing the fabric of her dress. "Say stop," he murmured, voice deep and slow. "I won't." she said, already leaning back against him. So don't wait for it. His lips found her neck slow, reverent, and her eyes fluttered shut. Each kiss trailed lower, drawing soft breaths from her lips. She turned, finally facing him again. Her hands found his collar, loosening the buttons like secrets slipping away. And when she pressed her mouth to his again, it was no longer a kiss, it was a claiming. The night stretched long and endless. The city outside vanished. The room disappeared. There was only skin, breath, fingers tracing paths along curves and edges, and sighs that said more than names ever could. They didn't rush. They savored. When she lay against his chest, both of them covered only in the warmth they shared, he finally whispered into her hair, "You're dangerous." She smiled. Against his skin. "You like danger." He laughed, low and satisfied. "I crave it." She tilted her head up, lips brushing his jaw. "Then don't ever tell me your name. Let me keep pretending you're just a dream." He kissed her again, soft this time, like a secret. "Then let's keep dreaming," he said, and they did. Morning touched the curtains like a shy guest. Light slipped through in threads of gold, draping across Amara's bare shoulder. The sheets clung to her skin, warm and creased with memories of the night before. She stirred slowly, the scent of him still clinging to her pillow, the feel of his hands ghosting her waist in the quiet echo of sleep, and he was still there, seated by the window, shirtless, legs stretched out, coffee in hand, as if he had always belonged to the morning. She watched him for a while, letting the silence between them fill with soft contentment. His eyes flicked toward her, and he smiled like a secret only she could understand. "Did I wake you?" he asked. "No," she whispered. "You were worth waking for." He stood and crossed the room, every movement lazy and confident. The way he looked at her, it was the same as last night, but deeper now, less hungry, more fascinated. He sat on the edge of the bed, his fingers grazing the curve of her thigh under the sheet. "Tell me something true," he said. She propped herself up on one elbow, letting the sheet slip just low enough to tease. "I don't usually do this." "I know." She blinked. "How?" "You don't move like someone used to being touched without emotion." That silenced her, not from discomfort, but from how right it felt. "And you?" she asked. "I don't usually stay." She smiled. "Yet, here you are." His hand slipped beneath the sheet and traced slow circles across her bare hip. "Maybe you're the exception I never knew I was waiting for." There were no awkward smiles, no morning after confusion, just warmth, chemistry that hadn't burned out in the night. "I could order room service," he said, trailing his lips across her collarbone. "Or we could stay hungry for a while longer," she murmured, pulling him back down to her. The sheets tangled. Again, their hunger didn't fade, it shifted. It turned soft, unhurried, as if they wanted to remember every curve, every gasp, every shared breath. And when they finally lay tangled in the aftermath again, glowing and spent, he said, "I'll go, if you want me to." She shook her head. "I don't." "Good," he said, brushing her temple with his lips. "Because I'm not done with you yet." She laughed, wrapping her arms around his torso. "You're still a mystery, you know." "Then unravel me." It wasn't just desire anymore. It was something else growing between them, bold and shameless, but tender too. The kind of connection that didn't need explanations, just time, just touch. They ordered breakfast, ate together in bed, bare shoulders brushing, legs tangled under the covers. He fed her a strawberry, then licked the juice from his thumb without breaking eye contact. She bit her lip, pulse flickering. "No names," she said softly, "but you're starting to feel real." He leaned in, mouth warm at her ear. "That's because I am." She closed her eyes and leaned into him. There was no future, no past. Only this perfect, bright moment, the kind you never expect but always remember, and it felt like the beginning of something deeper than either of them had planned. The sun was high now. The city moved outside the window, cars, horns, people hurrying nowhere but inside room 924. Time had slowed to something soft and indulgent. Amara wore his white button-up shirt. It barely reached her thighs, the sleeves too long, the scent of him woven into every thread. She padded barefoot across the carpet, coffee in hand, humming something she didn't realize she remembered. He sat on the edge of the bed, hair tousled, sheet draped lazily across his lap, watching her, not like a man admiring a lover but like a man who couldn't believe he got to wake up in a world where she existed. "You know," he said, voice rough from sleep and kisses, "you ruin every version of beauty I thought I knew." She smirked, sipping her coffee. That's a ridiculous thing to say. It's also true. Do you say that to all the women you meet on rooftops? He stood and crossed the room in 3 slow steps, hands sliding around her waist. You weren't just a woman on a rooftop. You were a dare. She leaned in, chest against his bare skin. And what did you win for taking it? He kissed her, slowly, like a man still deciding whether he wanted to consume or worship. I don't know yet, he murmured, lips brushing hers, but I'm not done collecting the prize. She giggled, a rare, unguarded sound that caught even her by surprise. His eyes lit up. I like that laugh, he said. I barely laughed, exactly. It was real. He lifted her effortlessly and carried her to the bed, her legs wrapping around him with instinct rather than intention. The coffee sloshed onto the carpet, but neither of them cared. Their mouths met again, all breath and pressure, her shirt unbuttoning under his fingertips like it had been waiting to be undone. Everything between them was bold now, heat without hesitation. She traced his spine as he kissed down her neck, his teeth grazing skin with just enough edge to leave memory behind. They didn't speak as he moved lower, as her back arched and her hands tangled in his hair. They didn't need to. Every sigh was a sentence. Every moan was a story. After, she lay half on his chest, his hand drawing lazy circles along her thigh. You're dangerous too, he whispered. She smiled, lips pressed to his shoulder. Why? Because I could fall. Maybe you already have. He exhaled a soft laugh, pulling her closer. Maybe I never had a choice. They spent the afternoon wrapped in each other. They played music, danced half naked on the carpet, ate from the fruit plate with their fingers. She drew a heart on his chest with whipped cream. He kissed it away. There was no pretense, no masks, only skin, warmth, laughter, and glances that said I see you, even without knowing names. When evening crept in again, neither of them moved to dress. The room glowed amber with sunset, and she sat straddling him on the bed, tracing the edge of his jaw with her thumb. You still won't tell me your name? She asked, voice low and teasing. He leaned in. If I tell you now, will you still come back tomorrow? She grinned. Tomorrow? He nodded, brushing a kiss against her collarbone. I want tomorrow with you, and the day after. And in that moment, she didn't need answers. She didn't need a name. She just needed his hands, his breath, and that slow, steady heat blooming between them again like the night wasn't done giving. The room had grown quiet again, quiet, but not still. Amara sat on the edge of the bed, brushing her fingers through her hair, her skin still tingling from his touch. He moved behind her without a sound, his lips grazing her shoulder as if asking permission he knew he didn't need. You look like temptation, he whispered, and you look like trouble, she murmured back. She stood, turning to face him. His shirt had long since slipped off and now hung open, forgotten. He let his eyes travel slowly down her body, then back up to her eyes, never rushing. Shower? She asked. He didn't answer. He just reached for her hand. The bathroom filled with soft light and rising steam. She turned the water on, then stepped beneath it, letting the warmth rush over her. She didn't look back, but she felt him behind her. And when he stepped in, his hands found her hips under the stream, firm and knowing. They didn't speak. Not at first. The sound of water and breath was enough. His mouth pressed to the back of her neck. Her eyes closed. His palms slid along her wet skin, exploring her with reverence and hunger, slow and bold. She leaned against the tile, gasping. When he kissed the line of her spine, touch me like you've known me forever, she whispered. He did. He held her like someone who had waited a lifetime. Every stroke was poetry, every movement a sentence written only for her. Water mixed with kisses, steam mixed with sighs, and when her fingers laced behind his neck, her body curved perfectly into his. The steam rose higher, fogging the mirror, and erasing everything except the two of them. He spun her gently to face him, lifting her like she weighed nothing, and kissed her like he was afraid it might be the last time. Only it wasn't, not even close. Their love in that moment was liquid fluid, fiery, endlessly moving. They made love beneath the stream as if time had stopped to watch. When it was done, they stayed wrapped in each other, water rinsing every thought except the one that mattered. Stay, later, wrapped in warm towels and laughter, he sat behind her, on the bathroom bench, toweling her hair dry with soft care. You're surprisingly good at this, she said. At what? Making it hard to leave, he chuckled, pressing a kiss just below her ear. Good. I'm not letting you. She turned to him. Still no name? Not yet. You like this mystery too much. I like you too much. She didn't flinch, didn't overthink it. She just smiled and let her hand rest over his heart. I'll come back tomorrow, she whispered. You'd better. His mouth met hers again, slow, deep, honest, and when she finally curled up in his arms that night, the scent of his skin and the rhythm of his breath were more familiar than any name ever could be. The night didn't bring sleep, not in the way people usually meant it. Amara lay against him, her fingers drawing idle circles on his bare chest. Outside, the city whispered its lullabies in the language of passing cars and flickering neon. But in room 924, time had turned liquid again, slow, thick, sensual. You ever play games? She asked softly, lifting her head to meet his gaze. His brow lifted slightly. Define games? She smiled, sly and sweet. Not the kind that end with winners. He rolled onto his side, his hand sliding to the curve of her hip. Go on. She kissed his collarbone, then his throat. We each ask something. Say a want, a truth, a fantasy. No shame, no judgment. And if we don't want to answer, she grinned, then we kiss instead. He laughed quiet and low. You're dangerous at night. She kissed him softly. That's not a denial. He nodded. All right, you first. Her lips brushed his ear. I've dreamed about someone doing exactly what you did in that shower, every detail. But the man in the dream never had a face. He pulled her closer, his voice darker now. Then I'm glad I gave it one. His turn. I want to wake up beside you in places we've never been. Paris, Florence, Tokyo. Places where no one knows who we are, and we can be anything we want. She blinked. The confession was so raw, so vivid. Her body melted against him. I'd let you kiss me under every moon in every city. His hand found the back of her thigh and pulled it over his hip. Their bodies pressed again, heat rising. Your turn, he whispered. I want to be the reason you forget the world. She said, just for a while, just long enough to fall. I already have, he murmured, kissing the hollow of her throat. He asked, what turns you on more, being seen or being heard? She smiled against his mouth. Both, but only when it's with someone who listens even when I'm silent. He kissed her deeply then, like a vow. Her hand trailed down his abdomen. Your turn, she said, voice low and warm. I want to see you come undone, he whispered, from just my voice and nothing else. She gasped softly, every nerve alive. Then speak, she whispered. Make me yours without even touching. And he did. He didn't need his hands, not yet. He used his voice, his words, low and sinful against her skin, every syllable drawing heat between her thighs and goosebumps along her arms. He described what he wanted, how he'd take her, how slowly he'd build her up until her body ached with every breath. And when he finally touched her, it wasn't fast. It was devastating. He worshipped her with his mouth, his tongue, his hands until her cries filled the room like soft thunder, and she clung to him as if he were the only solid thing left in a world that had turned to air. Later, when her body was still trembling and his lips rested at the center of her chest, she whispered, if this is a game, I never want to win. You already have, he said. The night wrapped around them again, heavy with the scent of love and skin and promises, unspoken, and neither of them wanted to sleep because reality felt too much like dreaming. The morning came gently, sunlight soft through the curtains, warmth lingering on the sheets, and skin still scented with kisses. Amara stirred slowly, her limbs draped over him like vines grown in the night. Her head rose and fell with each breath. He took. One of his hands rested at the small of her back, the other tangled in her hair. She didn't want to move. Not yet. Not when his heartbeat was her lullaby. His lips brushed her forehead. Still here, he whispered. Her fingers traced a path across his chest. Still mine, he smiled, eyes half lidded, voice full of something deeper now. Can I tell you something? She looked up, heart thudding. Please. He took her hand and pressed it flat over his chest, just above his heart. My name is Riven. She blinked, letting it roll through her. Riven. She repeated softly. Why now? Because I've never wanted anyone to say it the way you just did. She cupped his jaw, brushed her thumb across his lips, and whispered, then I'll be the only one who ever does. His kiss was soft this time, slow and honest. A name had changed nothing and everything. What they had wasn't just heat now. It was gravity. I want to know everything, she said. Where you grew up, what coffee you hate, what songs make you drive too fast. And I want to know how you sleep when I'm not there, he replied. What makes you cry? What makes you laugh until you can't breathe? She rolled on top of him, the sheet falling away from her bare skin like a ribbon slipping from silk. His eyes drank her in again, but with reverence. Now, not hunger. You already know how I breathe, she whispered. Now come learn how I love. Their mouths met again, not rushed, not desperate, but bold, secure. Their bodies moved together like they'd done this for years. Every touch was a sentence. Every sigh was a poem. He held her as she moved over him, her hands pressed to his chest, her eyes locked to his. The rhythm they found wasn't wild, it was sacred. She gasped his name, once, quietly. It felt like a secret blooming into truth. Riven held her tighter, his breath catching as he spilled into her. Burying his face in her neck, they collapsed. Together, breathless, skin damp and glowing, hearts beating like a single drum. I don't want this to end, she whispered. It won't, he said, kissing her collarbone. You've made me want a forever I never believed in. She smiled, wrapping the sheet around them both like a promise. Then don't be a dream anymore. I won't, he said. Not if you're the one who wakes me. They spent the day tangled, naked in body and in soul. No questions about the past, no fears about the future. Just hands, kisses, soft laughter, and the silent knowledge that something rare had taken root. No declarations, no big confessions, just love, real, bold, and without shame.